The exit of Morris the Mage Scholar left a sour taste in the mouths of a lot of Black Clover fans. I mean, since pre-time skip, he was teased as an antagonist that was responsible for manipulating kids for his experiments and patching two grimoires together. He was also a guy that took interest in other people's magic, sort of like Julius, except in Morris' case, he seems to take interest in them because he experiments on himself to turn himself into a higher being. He also built the Candela, which drains mana and life energy from the Spade citizen to power the Kleepot ritual. Then he stole Lolopechka's wisdom and managed to speed up the Kleepot ritual and modify it so that the Dark Triad is no longer needed after they're defeated. My god, talk about being an interesting guy, and yet he's gone just like that. Or maybe that's what Tabata wants us to think, right? It could be possible that Morris could still be kicking once the Spade arc is all said and done. He really gives an impression of being one step ahead of the Magic Knights. When we thought the Kleepot would open after a day, Morris sped it up, so that wouldn't be the case. When we thought beating the Triad was going to stop the ritual, it turned out Morris modified it so it could keep going without them. To me, that is a huge deal because I think this relates to some of the changes we've seen in the body of Yami and potentially Vengeance as well, although I'll get to this later. After that, all of his life force gets squeezed out by Lucifero in order to speed up the gates even further. So is he dead or down for the time being? It's not like we got any closure on Morris, but he should be dead since he got all of his life force drained. But that actually isn't the end of the world because we've seen one instance where you can get your life force restored, just like Gaja, but that was with Mimosa's ultimate magic. But what if there's an alternative to using ultimate magic? And that's magical science. You know that stuff that Morris specializes in, right? Think about the Candelo Morris built to steal mana and life energy from the Spade citizens. I know he used it to power the Kleepot ritual, but could it be possible that Morris has some leftovers from the Candelo, or say another device that uses his magical science to restore life force? I wouldn't say it's impossible. Remember these two guys? I know I mentioned in the past that they were doing something related to the fourth Sograti sibling, but if that's not the case, then it should be something related to Morris since, they work for him, of course. Now that Morris is down, they probably will come to his aid, right? I think this would be an opportunity to show us that magical science could also be used to restore life energy as well. So now the antagonist would have someone on their side who could restore life force when someone's on the verge of death, just like the Magic Knights did with Gaja on their side with Mimosa using her ultimate magic. I know in Tabata's first series, Hungry Joker, he was really big on the whole science thing, as his main character was a scientist himself. So perhaps he now expands on that even more with Morris in the future. The potential is definitely there. So I wouldn't close the door on him to find a way to restore life energy, especially since he created the Candela, which steals mana and life energy from people. So there should be a way for Morris to find a way to utilize it for potentially himself to get back on his feet. Now before we continue, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can be notified when a new Black Clover video drops. Much appreciated. But let's continue. Remember when I mentioned in a previous video that the change in Yami's body could actually be three possibilities? 1. He and Vengeance are now the cores for Lucifero's manifestation, meaning as long as they're alive, then Lucifero won't die. 2. When Morris said he modified the Kleepot ritual so that it will continue as long as he has the magic and the lives of Yami and Vengeance, this is what he meant by that. The core within them is what will keep the gates to the underworld running, so that also means as long as they're alive, then the gates will continue to run. Lastly, number 3, which is both, since Lucifero did merge with the Kleepot, so it's possible Lucifero won't die and the gates won't stop running until both captains are dead. If this is indeed the case, then I need y'all to put some respect on Morris' name, because he is literally responsible for getting us to this point. He didn't just speed up the ritual and modify it to keep it running, but he could potentially have put the Magic Knights in a position to where they're going to have to kill their own captain or risk the gates opening even more and Lucifero possibly staying alive. That doesn't sound like a failed antagonist to me, I assure you it doesn't. Morris already got a grade B from me for what he's done so far, but if he did that to Yami and Vanjit as well, then how can you call Morris a flop? I sure won't if that happens, but I need Morris to return, that's number one. We also need to learn about Morris' past, just a little bit. I mean, from the looks of things, you have Morris mentioning his family in a way where it makes you think something happened in the past for him to discard the thought of them so easily. Plus, we still haven't gotten any lore on the Diamond Kingdom, although I can envision us possibly getting it from four people. The first being Morris because he's the one that ended up ruling the Diamond Kingdom from the shadows, plus it would be from his perspective. The second is Lotus because he worked under Morris and seems somewhat loyal to him at the point where he's willing to flee the Diamond Kingdom in order to go to the Spade Kingdom with him. The third are the two diamond soldiers that you see silhouetted and went to the Spade Kingdom with him. They're still doing something behind the scenes. And lastly is Mars, because like everyone else, he was one of his followers as well, and he's close to Asta, so you never know. But anyways, let's just list everything he's done so far. He created mage stones that made his soldiers stronger. He patched two grimoires together, something unheard of, which gives the user two attributes. Performed procedures that allowed one of his 8 shining generals and Ledros to absorb and return mana in attack form. He also ruled the Diamond Kingdom from the shadows, specializes in magical science. He stole Lolopechka's wisdom, over 1,200 years of knowledge, my goodness, and learned how to accelerate the Kleepot. And lastly, as of now, he modified the Kleepot so that the Dark Triad is no longer needed to continue the ritual. I mean, come on now. The potential is right there. I refuse to believe that Tabata is going to let all of this go to waste. I refuse to believe it. How would you rate Morse as an antagonist this arc? Let me know in the comments below. Peace out.